ॐ सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत्परामम्बिकाम्। ॐ श्रीमाता श्रीमहाराज्ञी श्रीमत्सिंहासनेश्वरी चिदग्निकुण्डसम्भूता देवकार्यसमुद्यता उद्यद्भानुसहस्राभा चतुर्बाहुसमन्विता रागस्वरूपपाषाढ्या क्रोधाकाराङ्कुशोज्ज्वला मनोरूपेक्षुकोदण्डा पञ्चतन्मात्रसायका निजारुणप्रभापूरमज्जद्ब्रह्माण्डमण्डला चम्पकाशोकपुन्नागसौगन्धिकलसत्कचा कुरुविन्दमणिश्रेणी कनत्कोटीरमण्डिता अष्टमी चन्द्रविभ्राजदलिकस्थलशोभिता मुखचन्द्रकलङ्काभमृगनाभिविशेषका वदनस्मरमाङ्गल्यगृहतोरणचिल्लिका त्वक्त्रलक्ष्मीपरीवाहचलन् मीनाभलोचना नवचम्पकपुष्पाभनासा दण्डविराजिता ताराकान्तितिरस्कारिनासाभरणभासुरा कदम्बमञ्जरी क्लुप्तकर्णपूरमनोहरा ताटङ्कयुगलीभूततपनोडुपमण्डला पद्मरागशिलादर्शपरिभाविकपोलभूः नवविद्रुमबिम्बश्रीन्यक्कारिरदनच्छदा शुद्धविद्याङ्कुराकारद्विजपङ्क्तिद्वयोज्ज्वला कर्पूरवीटिकामोदसमाकर्षद्दिगन्तरा निजसल्लापमाधुर्यविनिर्भर्त्सितकच्छपी मन्दस्मितप्रभापूरमज्जत्कामेशमानसा अनाकलितसादृश्यचुबुकश्रीविराजिता कामेशबद्धमाङ्गल्यसूत्रशोभितकन्धरा कनकाङ्गदकेयूरकमनीयभुजान्विता रत्नग्रैवेयचिन्ताकलोलमुक्ता फलान्विता कामेश्वरप्रेमरत्नमणिप्रतिपणस्तनी नाभ्यालवालरोमालिलता फलकुचद्वयी लक्ष्यरोमलता धारतासमुन्नेयमध्यमां स्तनभारदलन्मध्यपट्टबन्धवलित्रया अरुणारुणकौसुम्भवस्त्रभास्वत्कटीतटी रत्नकिङ्किणिकारम्यरशनादामभूषिता कामेशज्ञातसौभाग्यमार्दवोरुद्वयान्विता माणिक्यमकुटाकारजानुद्वयविराजिता इन्द्रगोपपरिक्षिप्तस्मरतूणाभजङ्घिका गूढगुल्फा कूर्मपृष्ठजयिष्णुप्रपदान्विता नखदीधितिसञ्छन्ननमज्जनतमो गुणा पदद्वयप्रभा जालपराकृतसरोरुहा शिञ्जानमणिमञ्जीरमण्डितश्रीपदाम्बुजा मराली मन्दगमना महालावण्यशेवधिः सर्वारुणानवद्याङ्गी सर्वाभरणभूषिता शिवकामेश्वराङ्कस्था शिवा स्वाधीनवल्लभा सुमेरुमध्यशृङ्गस्था श्रीमन्नगरनायिका चिन्तामणिगृहान्तस्था पञ्चब्रह्मासनस्थिता महापद्माटवी संस्था कदम्बवनवासिनी सुधासागरमध्यस्था कामाक्षी कामदायिनी देवर्षिगणसङ्घातस्तूयमानात्मवैभव भण्डासुरवधोद्युक्तशक्तिसेना समन्विता सम्पत्करी समारूढसिन्धुरव्रजसेविता अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्वकोटिकोटिभिरावृता चक्रराजरथारूढ सर्वायुधपरिष्कृता गेयचक्ररथारूढमन्त्रिणी परिसेविता किरिचक्ररथारूढदण्डनाथा पुरस्कृता ज्वालामालिनिका क्षिप्तवह्निप्राकारमध्यगा भण्डसैन्यवधोद्युक्तशक्तिविक्रमहर्षिता नित्या पराक्रमाटोपनिरीक्षणसमुत्सुका भण्डपुत्रवधोद्युक्तबाला विक्रमनन्दिता मन्त्रिण्यम्बा विरचितविषङ्गवधतोषिता विशुक्रप्राणहरणवाराही वीर्यनन्दिता कामेश्वरमुखालोककल्पितश्रीगणेश्वरा महागणेशनिर्भिन्नविघ्नयन्त्रप्रहर्षिता भण्डासुरेन्द्रनिर्मुक्तशस्त्रप्रत्यस्त्रवर्षिणी कराङ्गुलिनखोत्पन्ननारायणदशाकृतिः महापाशुपतास्त्राग्निर्दग्धासुरसैनिका कामेश्वरास्त्रनिर्दग्धसभण्डासुरशून्यका ब्रह्मोपेन्द्रमहेन्द्रादिदेवसंस्तुतवैभवा हरनेत्राग्निसन्दग्धकामसञ्जीवनौषधिः श्रीमद्वाग्भवकूटैकस्वरूपमुखपङ्कजा कण्ठाधः कटिपर्यन्तमध्यकूटस्वरूपिणी शक्तिकूटैकतापन्नकट्यधो भागधारिणी मूलमन्त्रात्मिका मूलकूटत्रयकलेवरा कुलामृतैकरसिका कुलसङ्केतपालिनी कुलाङ्गना कुलान्तस्था कौलिनी कुलयोगिनी अकुला समयान्तस्था समयाचारतत्परा मूलाधारैकनिलया ब्रह्मग्रन्थिविभेदिनी मणिपुरान्तरुदिता विष्णुग्रन्थिविभेदिनी आज्ञाचक्रान्तरालस्था रुद्रग्रन्थिविभेदिनी सहस्राराम्बुजारूढा सुधासाराभिवर्षिणी तटिल्लता समरुचिः षट्चक्रोपरि संस्थिता महाशक्तिः कुण्डलिनी विसतन्तु तनीयसी भवानी भावनागम्या भवारण्यकुठारिका भद्रप्रिया भद्रमूर्तिर्भक्तसौभाग्यदायिनी भक्तिप्रिया भक्तिगम्या भक्तिवश्या भयापहा शाम्भवी शारदाराध्या शर्वाणी शर्मदायिनी शाङ्करी श्रीकरी साध्वी शरच्चन्द्रनिभानना शातोदरी शान्तिमती निराधारा निरञ्जना निर्लेपा निर्मला नित्या निराकारा निराकुला निर्गुणा निष्कला शान्ता निष्कामा निरुपप्लवा नित्यमुक्ता निर्विकारा निष्प्रपञ्चा निराश्रया नित्यशुद्धा नित्यबुद्धा निरवद्या निरन्तरा निष्कारणा निष्कलङ्का निरुपाधिर्निरीश्वरा नीरागारागमथनी निर्मदा मदनाशिनी निश्चिन्ता निरहङ्कारा निर्मोहा मोहनाशिनी निर्ममा ममता हन्त्री निष्पापा पापनाशिनी निष्क्रोधा क्रोधशमनी निर्लोभा लोभनाशिनी निःसंशया संशयघ्नी निर्भवा भवनाशिनी निर्विकल्पा निराबाधा निर्भेदा भेदनाशिनी निर्नाशा मृत्युमथनी निष्क्रिया निष्परिग्रहा निस्तुला नीलचिकुरा निरपाया निरत्यया दुर्लभा दुर्गमा दुर्गा दुःखहन्त्री सुखप्रदा दुष्टदूरा दुराचार शमनी दोषवर्जिता सर्वज्ञा सान्द्रकरुणा समानाधिकवर्जिता सर्वशक्तिमयी सर्वमङ्गला सद्गतिप्रदा सर्वेश्वरी सर्वमयी सर्वमन्त्रस्वरूपिणी सर्वयन्त्रात्मिका सर्वतन्त्ररूपा मनोन्मनी माहेश्वरी महादेवी महालक्ष्मीर्मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्वा महाशक्तिर्महारतिः महाभोगा महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धिर्महासिद्धिर्महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातन्त्रा महामन्त्रा महायन्त्रा महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्प महाताण्डवसाक्षिणी महाकामेश महिषी महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्ट्युपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टिकलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता मनुविद्या चन्द्रविद्या चन्द्रमण्डलमध्यगा चारुरूपा चारुहासा चारुचन्द्रकलाधरा चराचर जगन्नाथा चक्रराजनिकेतना पार्वती पद्मनयना पद्मरागसमप्रभा पञ्चप्रेतासनासीना पञ्चब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी चिन्मयी परमानन्दा विज्ञानघनरूपिणी ध्यानध्यातृध्येयरूपा धर्मा धर्मविवर्जिता विश्वरूपा जागरिणी स्वपन्ती तैजसात्मिका सुप्ता प्राज्ञात्मिका तुर्या सर्वावस्था विवर्जिता सृष्टिकर्त्री ब्रह्मरूपा गोप्त्री गोविन्दरूपिणी संहारिणी रुद्ररूपा तिरोधानकरीश्वरी सदाशिवानुग्रहदा पञ्चकृत्यपरायणा भानुमण्डलमध्यस्था भैरवी भगमालिनी पद्मासना भगवती पद्मनाभसहोदरी उन्मेषनिमिषोत्पन्नविपन्नभुवनावलिः सहस्रशीर्षवदना सहस्राक्षी सहस्रपात् आब्रह्मकीटजननी वर्णाश्रमविधायिनी निजाज्ञा रूपनिगमा पुण्या पुण्यफलप्रदा श्रुतिसीमन्तसिन्दूरीकृतपादाब्जधूलिका सकलागमसन्दोहशुक्तिसम्पुटमौक्तिका पुरुषार्थप्रदा पूर्णा भोगिनी भुवनेश्वरी अम्बिकानादिनिधना हरिब्रह्मेन्द्रसेविता नारायणी नादरूपा नामरूपविवर्जिता ह्रीङ्कारी ह्रीमती हृद्या हेयोपादेयवर्जिता राजराजार्चिता राज्ञी रम्या राजीवलोचना रञ्जनी रमणीरस्या रणत्किङ्किणिमेखला रमा राकेन्दुवदना रतिरूपा रतिप्रिया रक्षाकरी राक्षसघ्नी रामा रमणलम्पटा काम्या कामकलारूपा कदम्बकुसुमप्रिया कल्याणी जगती कन्दा करुणारससागरा कलावती कलालापा कान्ता कादम्बरी प्रिया वरदा वामनयना वारुणी मदविह्वला विश्वाधिका वेदवेद्या विन्ध्याचलनिवासिनी विधात्री वेदजननी विष्णुमाया विलासिनी क्षेत्रस्वरूपा क्षेत्रेशी क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञपालिनी क्षयवृद्धिविनिर्मुक्ता क्षेत्रपालसमर्चिता विजया विमला वन्द्या वन्दारुजनवत्सला वाग्वादिनी वामकेशी वह्निमण्डलवासिनी भक्तिमत्कल्पलतिका पशुपाशविमोचनी संहृता शेषपाषण्डा सदाचारप्रवर्तिका तापत्रयाग्निसन्तप्तसमाह्लादनचन्द्रिका तरुणी तापसाराध्या तनुमध्यातमोपः चितिस्तत्पदलक्ष्यार्था चिदेकरसरूपिणी स्वात्मानन्दलवीभूतब्रह्माद्यानन्दसन्ततिः परा प्रत्यक्षितीरूपा पश्यन्ती परदेवता मध्यमा वैखरी रूपा भक्तमानसहंसिका कामेश्वर प्राणनाडी कृतज्ञा कामपूजिता शृङ्गाररससम्पूर्णा जया जालन्धरस्थिता ओड्याणपीठनिलया बिन्दुमण्डलवासिनी रहो यागक्रमाराध्या रहस्तर्पणतर्पिता सद्यः प्रसादिनी विश्वसाक्षिणी साक्षिवर्जिता षडङ्गदेवता युक्ता षाड्गुण्यपरिपूरिता नित्यक्लिन्ना निरुपमा निर्वाणसुखदायिनी नित्या षोडशिका रूपा श्रीकण्ठार्धशरीरिणी प्रभावती प्रभारूपा प्रसिद्धा परमेश्वरी मूलप्रकृतिरव्यक्ता व्यक्ता व्यक्तस्वरूपिणी व्यापिनी विविधाकारा विद्या विद्यास्वरूपिणी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लादकौमुदी भक्तहार्दतमो भेद भानुमद्भानुसन्ततिः शिवदूती शिवाराध्या शिवमूर्तिः शिवङ्करी शिवप्रिया शिवपरा शिष्टेष्टा शिष्टपूजिता अप्रमेया स्वप्रकाशा मनोवाचामगोचरा चिच्छक्तिश्चेतना रूपा जडशक्तिर्जडात्मिका गायत्री व्याहृतिः सन्ध्या द्विजवृन्दनिषेविता तत्त्वासना तत्त्वमयी पञ्चकोशान्तरस्थिता निःसीममहिमा नित्ययौवना मदशालिनी मदघूर्णितरक्ताक्षी मदपाटलगण्डभूः चन्दनद्रवदिग्धाङ्गी चाम्पेयकुसुमप्रिया कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्लाकुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता कुमारगणनाथाम्बा तुष्टिः पुष्टिर्मतिर्धृतिः शान्तिः स्वस्तिमती कान्तिर्नन्दिनी विघ्ननाशिनी तेजोवती त्रिनयना लोलाक्षी कामरूपिणी मालिनी हंसिनी माता मलयाचलवासिनी सुमुखी नलिनी शुभ्रूः शोभना सुरनायिका कालकण्ठी कान्तिमती क्षोभिणी सूक्ष्मरूपिणी वज्रेश्वरी वामदेवी वयोवस्था विवर्जिता सिद्धेश्वरी सिद्धविद्या सिद्धमाता यशस्विनी विशुद्धिचक्रनिलया रक्तवर्णा त्रिलोचना खट्वाङ्गादिप्रहरणा वदनैकसमन्विता पायसान्नप्रिया त्वक्स्था पशुलोकभयङ्करी अमृतादिमहाशक्तिसंवृता डाकिनीश्वरी अनाहताब्जनिलया श्यामा भावदनद्वया दंष्ट्रोज्ज्वलाक्षमालादिधरा रुधिरसंस्थिता कालरात्र्यादिशक्त्यौघवृता स्निग्धौदनप्रिया महावीरेन्द्रवरदा राकिण्यम्बा स्वरूपिणी मणिपूराब्जनिलया वदनत्रयसंयुता वज्रादिकायुधोपेता डामर्यादिभिरावृता रक्तवर्णा मांसनिष्ठा गुणान्नप्रिया प्रीतमानसा समस्तभक्तसुखदा लाकिन्यम्बा स्वरूपिणी स्वाधिष्ठानाम्बुजगता चतुर्वक्त्रमनोहरा शूलाद्यायुधसम्पन्ना पीतवर्णातिगर्विता मेधोनिष्ठा मधुप्रीता बन्दिन्यादिसमन्विता दध्यन्नासक्तहृदया काकिनी रूपधारिणी मूलाधाराम्बुजारूढा पञ्चवक्त्रास्थिसंस्थिता अङ्कुशादिप्रहरणा वरदादिनिषेविता मुद्गौदनासक्तचित्ता साकिन्यम्बा स्वरूपिणी आज्ञाचक्राब्जनिलया शुक्लवर्णा षडानना मज्जा संस्था हंसवती मुख्यशक्तिसमन्विता हरिद्रान्नैकरसिका हाकिनी रूपधारिणी सहस्रदलपद्मस्था सर्ववर्णोपशोभिता सर्वायुधधरा शुक्लसंस्थिता सर्वतोमुखी सर्वोदनप्रीतचित्ता या किन्यम्बा स्वरूपिणी स्वाहा स्वधामतिर्मेधा श्रुतिस्मृतिरनुत्तमा पुण्यकीर्तिः पुण्यलभ्या पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना पुलोमजार्चिता बन्धमोचनी बन्धुरालका विमर्शरूपिणी विद्या वियदादिजगत्प्रसूः सर्वव्याधिप्रशमनी सर्वमृत्युनिवारिणी अग्रगण्या चिन्त्यरूपा कलिकल्मषनाशिनी कात्यायनी कालहन्त्री कमलाक्षनिषेविता ताम्बूलपूरितमुखी दाडिमी कुसुमप्रभा मृगाक्षी मोहिनी मुख्या मृडानी मित्ररूपिणी नित्यतृप्ता भक्तनिधिर्नियन्त्री निखिलेश्वरी मैत्र्यादिवासना लभ्या महाप्रलयसाक्षिणी पराशक्तिः परानिष्ठा प्रज्ञानघनरूपिणी माध्वीपानालसामत्ता मातृकावर्णरूपिणी महाकैलासनिलया मृणालमृदुदोर्लता महनीया दयामूर्तिर्महासाम्राज्यशालिनी आत्मविद्या महाविद्या श्रीविद्या कामसेविता श्रीषोडशाक्षरी विद्या त्रिकूटा कामकोटिका कटाक्षकिङ्करी भूतकमला कोटिसेविता शिरस्थिता चन्द्रनिभा भालस्थेन्द्रधनुः प्रभा हृदयस्थारविप्रख्या त्रिकोणान्तरदीपिका दाक्षायणी दैत्यहन्त्री दक्षयज्ञविनाशिनी दरान्दोलितदीर्घाक्षी दरहासोज्ज्वलन्मुखी गुरुमूर्तिर्गुणनिधिर्गोमाता गुहजन्मभूः देवेशी दण्डनीतिस्था दहराकाशरूपिणी प्रतिपन्मुख्यराकान्ततिथिमण्डलपूजिता कलात्मिका कलानाथा काव्यालापविनोदिनी सचामररमा वाणी सव्यदक्षिणसेविता आदिशक्तिरमेयात्मा परमा पावनाकृतिः अनेककोटिब्रह्माण्डजननी दिव्यविग्रह क्लीङ्कारी केवला गुह्या कैवल्यपददायिनी त्रिपुरा त्रिजगद्वन्द्या त्रिमूर्तिस्त्रिदशेश्वरी त्र्यक्षरी दिव्यगन्धाढ्या सिन्दूरतिलकाञ्चिता उमाशैलेन्द्रतनया गौरी गन्धर्वसेविता विश्वगर्भा स्वर्णगर्भा वरदा वागधीश्वरी ध्यानगम्या परिच्छेद्या ज्ञानदा ज्ञानविग्रह सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लिप्तब्रह्माण्डमण्डला अदृश्यादृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानन्दा युगन्धरा इच्छाशक्ति ज्ञानशक्ति क्रियाशक्तिस्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद्रूपधारिणी अष्टमूर्तिरजा जैत्री लोकयात्रा विधायिनी एकाकिनी भूमरूपा निर्द्वैता द्वैतवर्जिता अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी बृहती ब्राह्मणी ब्राह्मी ब्रह्मानन्दा बलिप्रिया भाषारूपा बृहत्सेना भावा भावविवर्जिता सुखाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभा गतिः राजराजेश्वरी राज्यदायिनी राज्यवल्लभा राजकृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता राज्यलक्ष्मीः कोशनाथा चतुरङ्गबलेश्वरी साम्राज्यदायिनी सत्यसन्धा सागरमेखला दीक्षिता दैत्यशमनी सर्वलोकवशङ्करी सर्वार्थदात्री सावित्री सच्चिदानन्दरूपिणी देशकालापरिच्छिन्ना सर्वगा सर्वमोहिनी सरस्वती शास्त्रमयी गुहाम्बा गुह्यरूपिणी सर्वोपाधिविनिर्मुक्ता सदा शिवपतिव्रता सम्प्रदायेश्वरी साध्वी गुरुमण्डलरूपिणी कुलोत्तीर्णा भगाराध्या माया मधुमतीमही गणाम्बा गुह्यकाराध्या कोमलाङ्गी गुरुप्रिया स्वतन्त्रा सर्वतन्त्रेशी दक्षिणामूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी चित्कलानन्दकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियङ्करी नामपारायणप्रीता नन्दिविद्यानटेश्वरी मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी लास्यप्रिया लयकरी लज्जारम्भादिवन्दिता भवदा वसुधा वृष्टिः पापारण्यदवानला दौर्भाग्यतूलवातूला जराध्वान्तरविप्रभा भाग्याब्धिचन्द्रिका भक्तचित्तकेकिघना घना रोगपर्वतदम्भोलिर्मृत्युदारुकुठारिका महेश्वरी महाकाली महाग्रासा महाशना अपर्णा चण्डिका चण्डमुण्डासुरनिषूदिनी क्षराक्षरात्मिका सर्वलोकेशी विश्वधारिणी त्रिवर्गदात्री सुभगा त्र्यम्बगा त्रिगुणात्मिका स्वर्गापवर्गदा शुद्धा जपा पुष्पनिभाकृतिः ए ओजोवती द्युतिधरा यज्ञरूपा प्रियव्रता क्षम्यताम् स्वर्गापवर्गदा शुद्धा जपा पुष्पनिभाकृतिः ओजोवती द्युतिधरा यज्ञरूपा प्रियव्रता दुराराध्या दुराधर्षा पाटली कुसुमप्रिया महती मेरुनिलया मन्दारकुसुमप्रिया वीराराध्या विराड्रूपा विरजा विश्वतोमुखी प्रत्यग्रूपा पराकाशा प्राणदा प्राणरूपिणी मार्ताण्डभैरवाराध्या मन्त्रिणी न्यस्तराज्यधूः त्रिपुरेशी जयत्सेना निस्त्रैगुण्या परापरा सत्यज्ञानानन्दरूपा सामरस्य परायणा कपर्दिनी कलामाला कामधुक् कामरूपिणी कलानिधिः काव्यकला रसज्ञा रसशेवधिः पुष्टा पुरातना पूज्या पुष्करा पुष्करेक्षणा परञ्ज्योतिः परं धाम परमाणुः परात्परा पाशहस्ता पाशहन्त्री परमन्त्रविभेदिनी मूर्ता मूर्ता नित्यतृप्ता मुनिमानसहंसिका सत्यव्रता सत्यरूपा सर्वान्तर्यामिनी सती ब्रह्माणि ब्रह्मजननी बहुरूपा बुधार्चिता प्रसवित्री प्रचण्डाज्ञा प्रतिष्ठा प्रकटाकृतिः प्राणेश्वरी प्राणदात्री पञ्चाशत्पीठरूपिणी विशृङ्खला विविक्तस्था वीरमाता वियत्प्रसूः मुकुन्दा मुक्तिनिलया मूलविग्रहरूपिणी भावज्ञा भवरोगघ्नी भवचक्रप्रवर्तिनी छन्दःसारा शास्त्रसारा मन्त्रसारा तलोदरी उदारकीर्तिरुद्दाम वैभवा वर्णरूपिणी जन्म मृत्युजरा तप्त जनविश्रान्तिदायिनी सर्वोपनिषदुद्घुष्टा शान्त्यतीतकलात्मिका गम्भीरा गगनान्तस्था गर्विता गानलोलुपा कल्पनारहिता काष्ठा कान्ता कान्तार्धविग्रह कार्यकारणनिर्मुक्ता कामकेलितरङ्गिता कनकनकताटङ्का लीला विग्रहधारिणी अजाक्षयविनिर्मुक्ता मुग्धा क्षिप्रप्रसादिनी अन्तर्मुखसमाराध्या बहिर्मुखसुदुर्लभा त्रयी त्रिवर्गनिलया त्रिस्था त्रिपुरमालिनी निरामया निरालम्बा स्वात्मा रामा सुधासृतिः संसारपङ्कनिर्मग्नसमुद्धरणपण्डिता यज्ञप्रिया यज्ञकर्त्री यजमानस्वरूपिणी धर्माधारा धनाध्यक्षा धनधान्यविवर्धिनी विप्रप्रिया विप्ररूपा विश्वभ्रमणकारिणी विश्वग्रासा विद्रुमाभा वैष्णवी विष्णुरूपिणी अयोनिर्योनिनिलया कूटस्था कुलरूपिणी वीरगोष्ठी प्रिया वीरा नैष्कर्म्यानादरूपिणी विज्ञानकलना कल्या विदग्धा बैन्दवासना वीरगोष्ठी प्रिया वीरा नैष्कर्म्यानादरूपिणी विज्ञानकलना कल्या विदग्धा बैन्दवासना तत्त्वाधिका तत्त्वमयी तत्त्वमर्थस्वरूपिणी सामगानप्रिया सौम्या सदा शिवकुटुम्बिनी सव्यापसव्यमार्गस्था सर्वापद्विनिवारिणी स्वस्था स्वभावमधुरा धीरा धीरसमर्चिता चैतन्यार्घ्यसमाराध्या चैतन्यकुसुमप्रिया सदोदिता सदा तुष्टा तरुणादित्यपाटला दक्षिणा दक्षिणाराध्या दरस्मेरमुखाम्बुजा कौलिनी केवलानर्घ्य कैवल्यपददायिनी स्तोत्रप्रिया स्तुतिमती श्रुतिसंस्तुतवैभव मनस्विनी मानवती महेशी मङ्गलाकृतिः विश्वमाता जगद्धात्री विशालाक्षी विरागिणी प्रगल्भा परमोदारा परामोदा मनोमयी व्योमकेशी विमानस्था वज्रिणी वामकेश्वरी पञ्चयज्ञप्रिया पञ्चप्रेतमञ्चाधिशायिनी पञ्चमी पञ्चभूतेशी पञ्चसङ्ख्योपचारिणी शाश्वती शाश्वतैश्वर्या शर्मदा शम्भुमोहिनी धरा धरसुता धन्या धर्मिणी धर्मवर्धिनी लोकातीता गुणातीता सर्वातीता शमात्मिका बन्धूककुसुमप्रख्या बाला लीला विनोदिनी सुमङ्गली सुखकरी सुवेषाढ्या सुवासिनी सुवासिन्यर्चन प्रीता शोभना शुद्धमानसा बिन्दुतर्पण संतुष्टा पूर्वजा त्रिपुराम्बिका दशमुद्रा समाराध्या त्रिपुरा श्रीवशङ्करी ज्ञानमुद्रा ज्ञानगम्या ज्ञानज्ञेयस्वरूपिणी योनिमुद्रा त्रिखण्डेशी त्रिगुणाम्बा त्रिकोणगा अनघाद्भुतचारित्र्या वाञ्छितार्थप्रदायिनी अभ्यासातिशयज्ञाता षडध्वातीतरूपिणी अव्याजकरुणामूर्तिरज्ञानध्वान्तदीपिका आबालगोपविदिता सर्वानुल्लङ्घ्य शासना श्रीचक्रराजनिलया श्रीमत्त्रिपुरसुन्दरी श्रीशिवा शिवशक्त्यैक्यरूपिणी ललिताम्बिका श्रीचक्रराजनिलया श्रीमत्त्रिपुरसुन्दरी श्रीशिवा शिवशक्त्यैक्यरूपिणी ललिताम्बिका श्रीचक्रराजनिलया श्रीमत्त्रिपुरसुन्दरी श्रीशिवा शिवशक्त्यैक्यरूपिणी ललिताम्बिका एवं श्रीललिता देव्या नाम्नां साहस्रकं सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरि नारायणि नमोऽस्तु ते। धन्यवादः। Which shloka had we stopped at?
85. We are supposed to start today.
85. Thank you. So I think yesterday I had missed out on a particular nama. I wanted to confirm what the meaning of Jalandhara Sthita is. Jalandhara Sthita means one who is residing Sthita at the Jalandhara. So here it means I mean, it in general means a pipe which carries water, which conveys water is called Jalandhara. And here in this context, it means the person, the god who sits at the throat, because that is the pipe through which air and water and food travels. It conveys it. The esophagus, the pharynx, and the larynx. So that region, the trachea, where it conveys, these pipes are present, is called the Jalandhara. So she residing at the Vishuddhi Chakra is the guardian deity of the throat. As an interesting story to this, when Shiva drank the poison, the hala hala, uh, when the when the Devas and the Asuras were churning out using the Mandara Parvata and Vasuki, many things emerged out of the ocean. Just as when we churn the mind out, so many repressed and suppressed thoughts, the unconscious thoughts become conscious. They come up, they resurface up, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are ugly, some of them are beautiful, some of them are kind, some of them are animalistic, and all of this is represented by the Samudra Manthana. When it was so carried out, finally, the as in game language, we say boss, the final boss that we must face was the hala hala, which is the deep rooted, the deep seated poison which is present in all of our minds. That very ajnana itself, that very fundamental misidentity, which is the hala hala, which is destroying that ego, misidentification, which destroys all things around by transgressing the boundaries, by stepping into another person's boundary and causing havoc. So that verily is the poison within. And of course, it takes a very long time before it even comes to the surface. We can just talk about it right now, but in fact, even Carl Jung said enlightenment doesn't happen by imagining figures of light. It happens when the darkness is made conscious. So, to make even the darkness conscious, first it must resurface up, and for which we need the pratyakchiti, the internal awareness. Anyway, coming back to this, the metaphor say, I mean, the story goes on to say that when the asuras and the devas were churning out the two factions of our mind, when they were churning it out, the hala hala emerged, and Shiva, very gracefully, upon the request and behest of the asuras and devas both, and taking pity on the creatures, he, though being the destroyer, I mean, he must have actually facilitated and endorsed such a hala hala to actually, aid his work and take on the responsibility of destroying it, but he stepped out of his usual hat of being the destroyer and he drank the poison to save the organisms and the creatures. And seeing this, immediately the two people who are Narayana and Narayani came to his rescue, at least supposedly rescue. And Shiva is quite, he is uh, embarrassed and quite offended too because he looks at both of them. And first of all, Vishnu, uh, very surprisingly, starts closing his mouth. He closes his mouth, whereas Gauri, Narayani, she comes and holds his throat. And Shiva is quite surprised. And they hold on to this in this position for a while. And after some time, Shiva asks, "Why did you guys do this? So you are as good as the closest, my best friend Vishnu. Why did you hold my mouth? And why did you cover my mouth with your hands?" And then he asks the same question to the spouse, the wife, Devi, why did you hold my throat? And so some sources say they just held with their hands, and other sources say Vishnu became the tongue and went inside to stop the poison from being vomited out, while Devi sat at the throat, the the Vishuddhi chakra of Shiva itself, um, preventing the poison from going within his body. So then they say, we understand that you are the destroyer and you are indestructible. So we are not holding your throat thinking that you may die because of the poison. We are holding it because you, the body of Shiva, houses an internal cosmos within in your stomach, that is in your Manipura chakra. You have an entire set of universes yet to be born, something like a fetus, as if Shiva is pregnant with all these seeds of the future universes. So Devi, Narayani comes and holds and stops the poison at the throat so that she doesn't want those seeds also to be contaminated. Whereas Vishnu, who is in his usual duty as the caretaker and guardian of the cosmos, the present cosmos, he doesn't want the hala hala to be spit out and cause havoc again. So he stops his mouth. And so in this way, Narayana and Narayani protected the future and the present current universes. And which is why the poison remained stagnant at the throat and it darkened his throat. It turned him into Nilakantha or Nilagriva. And that story is being referenced here by the word Jalandhara Sthita. She went and sat at the pit of the throat of Shiva. And secondly, Odhyana Pitha Nilaya is one is the courtyard, that is the general meaning, the courtyard. But it actually also refers to a very specific courtyard which is for lovers. You can think of this as in modern day Cubbon Park or all these bushes in which public display of affection readily happens. So that is called the Odhyana. And this Pitha is actually is a specific jargon here that Odhyana Pitha as such occurs in the Tantras to signify the place at the Sahasrara where not actually Sahasrara, slightly below it, where the Ida and the Pingala actually meet. So it's very metaphorical, alluded to the two lovers coming and meeting at that point. So that Pitha, that point, is called as the Odhyana Pitha. So she resides there, and further on, she goes on to the Sahasrara itself and resides there in the form of a singularity, a Bindu. Anyhow, we are done with that, and then Shadgunya. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Shadgunya. What are the six qualities? Let me just quickly pull it up. The six qualities, as are described, are prosperity, valor, dispassion, fame, wealth, and wisdom. Shadgunya paripurita, those which are most coveted and most required for by humans. What are they? Prosperity, wealth, fame, wisdom, dispassion, vairagya, and valor. So these are the six qualities that she is abundant in. Continuing, Nitya Klinna, she is always wet. She is wet both metaphorically as well as romantically. So she is wet because we have seen these depictions of uh, Lakshmi being sprayed by water by the Gajas. She is called Gaja Lakshmi. She is always worshipped by the waters of Amrita, of the Kshira Sagara, which she resides at. Similarly, here Lalita too, who resides at Sudha Sagara, in the Sudha Sagara, is poured and showered every single moment by all the Vag Devatas themselves, and she is in a continuous state of Abhisheka, just like her husband Rudra. Nitya Klinna, and the other meaning is romantically he is always wet. So the Swadhisthana chakra, which is at the place of the genitals, is at least in the female reproductive system, it produces water when aroused, right? So it is symbolic of the motherly nature for creating the amniotic fluid to house the future fetus. And in that sense, she being the adhipati of the Swadhisthana chakra, which is also coincidentally the chakra which is uh, depicted by the element of water. First is Prithvi, which is Mooladhara, and second is Apas, which is the Swadhisthana. So there she is submerged in the water. She is not even floating. She is submerged in the water uh, of the waters of love, compassion, lust, and sexual fluids. So she is there in such sense, Nitya Klinna. And in fact, one of these names, Nitya Klinna, also comes in the Durga Khadgamala Stotram. Nitya Klinne, Bherunde, and so on. Nirupama, she is without a parallel, unparalleled. Nirvana Sukhadayini. Nirvana Sukha is she provides the Sukha not only of the body but also of Nirvana, of being disembodied. Nirvana literally means undressed or unclothed, where disrobed. Nirvana. Vana is robes. Nirvana is without robes, which means that is one of the meaning. And the other Buddhist meaning to this is Vana here refers to the flow of air. Nirvana is where there is absolutely no flow of even the slightest breeze. In fact, even in the Bhagavad Gita, it comes. यथा दीपो निवातस्थो नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यत चित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः. Just as a flame kept in a place of absolutely no wind or no air movement doesn't flicker, similarly is the mind, the flame of consciousness of the mind of the yogi who is in continuous focus and continuously ablaze with the thought of the Atma. And similarly, that is the where the meaning of nirvana comes from. The place of zero movement, zero perturbation. And that is also said to be exactly the place of sukha. सुखमात्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राह्यमतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः. Once knowing this joy, tasting this joy of being in such a nirvana, then the this soul or this yogi or yogini can never ever in the future ever be disturbed even by gurunapi dukkhena na vichalyate, not even by the craziest and most tormented of agonies of life or of externally or internally can ever perturb that state. That is the state of nirvana, which from which Lalita provides joy. Nitya Shodashika Rupa, and there are the other goddesses who are her servants. Let me pull up the list. So these list of 16 deities, Nitya and all, are Kameshwari, Bhagamalini, Nityaklinna, Bherunda, Vaishnavi, sorry, Vanhivasini, Mahavajreshwari, शिवदूती त्वरिता कुलसुंदरी नित्या नीलपताकिनी विजया सर्वमंगला ज्वालामालिनी चित्रा and Tripura Sundari. So these are the 16 servants. Shodashika means 16 servants who serve her, and she is their Rupa. She is not just being served, she is not different from them. She is each of these servants too, who is getting served by them. Shrikantardha Sharirini. I'll just send that list of these 16 Shodashikas over the WhatsApp group. Mhm. Shrikantardha Sharirini. She is the half Ardha Sharirini, the half body of Shrikantha, or also called Nilakantha or Parameshwara. Interestingly, there is a very poetic, humorous shloka in the Saundarya Lahari. I sometimes wonder why I give so many references. I mean, we are actually digressing a lot. I wish to complete the meanings by 30th. Let's see. Anyway, so this shloka in the Saundarya Lahari says, "O mother," I think I had told this earlier, uh, you are Aruna. You are uh, in the reddish orange complexion, and you are the form of Shiva Karuna. You are the manifest form of Shiva's compassion. So here Shiva refers to Brahman, the supreme, the ultimate. So when it took compassion um, over the world, it that compassion itself, the very first emotion which emerged from Brahma, that emotion which was so powerful, turned into this Aruna figure of yours, O Lalitamba, which is why you're also Aruna. You're or reddish orange in color and full of compassion, and that is why you're the mother, the compassionate one. And then he goes on to say, uh, the Shastras say, and even the Lalita Sahasranam as is being said, you are the half. You're the spouse, the better half, so to speak, of Shiva. And your condition was that you wanted to be the spouse of Shiva, and seeing your supreme tapasya, which even parallel that of Shiva, he was absolutely pleased and lovingly he accepted you, and you also lovingly accepted him. And as you got closer and closer, more intimate and intimate, you couldn't even stand separated, and therefore you both agreed to become halves of each other, literally the halves of each other, and you became the Ardhanarishwara form. And then you mother are so cunning, what did you know? You're so greedy that you slowly started appropriating all the abharanas of Shiva to yourself. So you saw the moon, which was originally on Shiva, so you pulled it a little and put it to your forehead. And then you saw the the Trinayana, the third eye of Shiva. So you pulled it up, you became Trinayana, correct? Sinduraruna Vigraham Trinayanam, you became Trinayana. And then you saw he was wearing, he had a Trishula in his hand. So you just robbed it off. You took the Trishula to yourself. And then you saw the Sarpas in his head. You said, I'll also become Sarpini and Bhogini. And you took those. Slowly, you started occupying and appropriating many things of his. And finally, what you did, you occupied his entire right half also. So in the Ardhanarishwara form, the right is Shiva, while the left is Parvati. And you became so greedy and so attached to Shiva that you could not even stand this fine boundary of the two halves of the body even. You guys were involved with each other so much, and you overshadowed and overpowered him that your energy took over his entire body too, gobbling it up. And thus, now you are presently before me in a form where I can't really differentiate where Shiva is. He has completely merged with you, and you have in yourself merged with him. And because Shiva is actually white in color, it is actually unlike the calendar images that we have seen. He is actually not blue. Only his throat is blue. His original image, as is described, is Shuddha Sphatika Sankasham, as transparent and white and shining as quartz, as Sphatika Mani. So he is actually white in color. And you originally were Raktavarna. And when the two of you, because of this great merger, you have now, your tone has now uh, reduced because of white and red mixed together, and now it is appearing Aruna. Uh, and thank God for your Karuna that you have at least allowed the color of Shiva to show in this union. Who knows, you may have gobbled that up too. So this is a very sarcastic, very loving, humorous way of both praising as well as commenting on Devi. This is a very beautiful shloka. You should actually read it in the original and you'll enjoy it. So she is Shrikantha Ardha Sharirini. Prabhavati Prabharupa Prasiddha Parameshwari. She is an effulgent form, light springing out of her. Prabhavati Prabharupa. She is the light itself. Not only does she have light, she is light. Prasiddha Parameshwari. She is famous. She is the supreme controller, Parameshwari. Mula Prakritihi. She is the Mula Prakriti. In the Sankhya philosophy, there is the Mula Purusha and the Mula Prakriti, the original Purusha, the original seer, the subject, and the original object. So this is the birth of duality. All the dualistic schools, also called pluralistic schools of philosophy, be it either in India or abroad, I mean not abroad, in the West, are all, you could say, offsprings of this original dualistic school called the Sankhya, where there is a fundamental, it is postulated that there is a fundamental difference between the seer and the seen, the drik and the drishya, the Purusha and the Prakriti. And therein, it is said that God, the Mula Purusha, or also called Purushottama, and Mula Prakriti were two indestructible equal forces of the universe. I mean, even before the universe began. So these were the two uh, complementary or at sometimes antagonistic supplementary forces entities present, the Purusha and the Prakriti. She represents that side which is the Mula Prakriti. And Avyakta, she is that unmanifest form. Vyakta Vyakta Swarupini. She is not just the Avyakta but also the Vyakta and Avyakta forms. She is both the Purusha and the Prakriti, but more predominantly Prakriti. Similarly, she is both manifest and the unmanifest, but more predominantly the Avyakta. She likes to be, um, she doesn't like to be in a spotlight. She likes to recede back and back like an introvert. Very subtle, very esoteric, very enigmatic, unknown to, she likes to be unknown. That is how usually the feminine quality is. Doesn't attract attention to itself. It will give attention, but it will never attract attention to itself. That is a very masculine quality, to attract attention. Perhaps that is also the reason, I would say, unfortunately, why the women of India are heavily misrepresented and underrepresented. So many great ideals, even amongst women. We hardly remember one or two freedom fighters who were women, hardly one or two queens, hardly one or two merchants, great traders. In fact, many queens themselves were actively involved in trading, both with the West as well as with the East. And so many I mean, martyr mothers and so on and so forth. So we only remember our own mothers, which is at least good, but we hardly hear of the feminine sides, the feminine models, role models in India. I think it is also abroad. Then that is also to do with this very intrinsic quality that the feminine doesn't like attention. Uh, so all blame and credit will go to Lalita for this. Vyapini, she is the cosmic enveloper, the largest envelope possible, which is the envelope of the universe itself. Vyapini. Vividhakara, she takes on many forms. And Vidya Swarupini. I don't know if the time is running out. Are you all there?
Yes, we are still on.
Okay. I don't know if the timer will run out because it is not showing me any prompt here as such. So in case I do get logged out, as usual, like yesterday, please join with the other link. Where is the timer? Okay, somehow it's not showing. All right. She represents the plural manifestations of the universe. Vividha Akara. Vidya Swarupini. She is of the form of both Vidya and Avidya. In the Mundaka Upanishad, this is being described. Mahashala Shaunaka, the great householder Shaunaka, who having discharged all his duties of life, who is now fulfilled and quite honestly dispassionate about the world. Not that he is not interested in doing the duties anymore, but he has understood and gained a lot of wisdom, as all of you are here, about the vagaries of the world as well as the uh, mundanities of it. And now he has come, just like in a spiritual retreat, we would go to some Himalaya caves or whatever. He has come to a sage called Angirasa, and he asks him and pleads with him. I have all throughout my life gained many skills. I have learned this, Dhanur Vidya, that Vidya, Arthashastra, maybe even warfare and all of that. And I've also touched upon the scriptures and so on. But what really is that one piece of information which, by knowing that, I will have known every single thing of the world. I am not really interested in knowing the specificities of anything. I want to only know that core essence so that the entire gist of the universe becomes known to me. So it's like something like this. Let's say I have a book with me, and or let's say, I mean, a better example, more contemporary example would be that of a movie. Let's say there's a thriller movie, right? And let's say you already read the plot of the movie online. So you have basically understood the entire story. And now when you actually watch the movie, none of it will actually interest you anymore because you are no longer attached to the movie, no longer involved or present in the movie and going through those emotions. But you have gained the gist of it and you're quite happy. If the plot line is good, you're quite happy with it. Is it not? So in effect, you have understood the movie. You may not know the exact names of the actors or the characters or what they did, when they did, why they did, etc. But you will have known the gist. Similarly, what is that gist of all the body of knowledge of the world? Not only just of information, but of knowledge, which means of wisdom, knowing which all secret phenomenon become known to me. That was the question that this curious little, not little, this curious old man comes and asks Angirasa, to which he says there are two kinds of knowledge. One is Vidya and Avidya, Paravidya and Aparavidya. So there he goes on to say, all that you have studied so far, dear sir, is just avidya. It is Aparavidya. All this Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Kalpo, Niruktam, Chando, Jyotisham, and everything else. So that was just an example, a small list for as an example that he gives, because those were the subjects that was being studied then. But you can extrapolate that to say all this mathematics, science, spirituality, all of that is just apara vidya. It is, in fact, avidya. So then what is the vidya? Yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. That knowledge, that wisdom, that spark of intuition and understanding through which one arrives at aksharam, one arrives at the highest immutable. That alone, that process, that path, that step by step protocol alone is what is vidya. Just imagine such a brave statement that the Rishi himself is making, because he is, of course, belonging to a certain Vedic lineage. So he may be a Rigvedi himself, perhaps. But see the guts he has to uh, detach himself from that lineage and authority and make such a great statement, in fact. And so that Vidya is the Atma Vidya, the supremost knowledge, and Avidya is all secular, religious, secondary knowledge. Vidya, Avidya, Swarupini, she is both. Mahakamesha Nayana Kumuda Hlada Kaumudi. She is the Kaumudi, she is the Chandra, which is Ahlada, which is relaxing and creating joy and serenity and tranquility for the Kumuda, the lotus, which is the face of Shiva, Mahakamesha. So you should always interpret such big samasas backwards. She is the Kaumudi, the full moon, full moon, which is giving ahlada, happiness and contentment to the Kumuda, the lotus, which is the Kameshwara's Nayana. Sorry, not face, it is the Nayana. The eyes of Kameshwara, Mahakamesha, when it looks at Lalita, it gleams with happiness. The eyes are gleaming with happiness, just as the Kumuda flower, the water lily, at night it blossoms and blooms and becomes ecstatic in joy looking at the full moon. This is the understanding. Bhakta harda tamo bheda bhanumad bhanu santatihi. Okay, you're all still there, right? Yeah. Thank God it hasn't logged us out. Bhakta harda tamo bheda bhanumad bhanu santatihi. She is the Bhanu Santati. She is entire crores and crores of suns, of stars, which are enlightening simultaneously the tamas, which is the darkness which resides in the heart of the bhakta. Bhakta harda tamo bheda, and which is dispelling such darkness not just with one sun, Bhanumad. It is with Bhanumad Bhanu Santatihi. Santatihi is crores and lots, series and series of suns together, uh, one after the other. If they were to dispel the darkness, that would be how powerful she is at striking away the darkness from our hearts. Shivaduti. A very interesting story occurs in the Chandi Saptashati, Durga Saptashati, where when Raktabijasura is coming with his full battalion to destroy Lalitamba, and he comes with a very huge sainya, lots of Akshauhinis there, and she says, I mean, and before all of this, to give you some context, Shumbha and Nishumba has objectified Lalita or Durga, and Shumbha wants her in his custody as a, I mean, to put it very bluntly, as a sex toy, as a doll. So he has very lustful eyes for her, and he sends Sainya after Sainya to get her captured and bring her back to him. Of course, she has destroyed all the previous demons so far. But now, when Raktabija comes with his Sainya, she wonders how, my God, to destroy one single lady, to even capture this one single lady who is I, he has brought an entire Sainya. And I feel pity for all these lives which will be lost. Um, for the sake of Shumbha and just one or two ministers, they are ready to sacrifice the lives of so many other asuras. So, with compassion, she says, she sends Shiva himself. She calls Shiva and says, "You go and tell Raktabija and the others present there that I am really not interested in warfare. If I actually engage in war, you will not survive and you will become pieces of meat for the jackals which surround me. So please be warned, and you rather go and tell your master too, and you withdraw right now, and give back the kingdom of Indra, the Swarga to Indra, and you go back to Patal and you rule whatever you have, whatever is your rightfully yours. Enjoy whatever land or realms have been bestowed unto you by the great grandfather, Prajapati Brahma. Be happy with only that much. Do not conquer and disturb the balance of the universe. No, but they of course don't listen. They are Asuric and their egos are hurt, and then they violate the ceasefire as did Pakistan, and they started directly showering arrows at her, and then the war continues. So there she is called Shivaduti because she sent Shiva himself, Mahakamesha himself, as just a duta, as a messenger, and thus showing how powerful she can be herself when determined. Shiva Radhya, she is worshipped by Shiva. Shiva Murtihi, like I said, she occupied the entire body of Shiva itself and thus became the Murti of Shiva itself. And Shivankari, she blesses us with auspiciousness. Shiva means auspicious. Shivam Karoti iti Shivankari. Shiva Priya, Shiva Para, Shishteshta, Shishta Pujita. Shiva Priya, the beloved of Shiva. Shiva Para, she never ever gives up on Shiva. She always takes the side of Shiva, Shiva Para. Shishteshta. Um, she is the mother goddess, is always liked by the Shishtas, by the good people. And that is also true, right? If we have seen some evil minds, even in psychology, if there is a problem with the person, if there are two spectrums, there are two ends of the spectrum. One is the empathy side, and the other is the psychopathic side. So those who lean more towards the psychopathic, narcissistic side of the spectrum, they tend to disrespect their mothers a lot. Whereas those who fall towards the empathic and the sensitive side of the spectrum, they are closer to the mothers. So perhaps it comes from this original metaphor that she is Shishteshta. She is always liked by the Shishta, the more empathic souls. Shishta Pujita, worshipped by the good people. Aprameya, impossible to be measured, immeasurable. Aprameya, Swaprakasha, she is self illuminous. Swaprakasha. There is no need for another sun, moon, star, Chandra, etc. to illumine her. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चन्द्रतारकं नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयमग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति. There is no Surya, there is no Chandra, no Tara, no star, no Agni which can ever illumine this Supreme Self. Please understand, O good man, that not even lightning can illumine for a split second this great self. It is only through the illumination, and here it is a play on words because it means bhanti means jnana. So because of the jnana, the ability to be conscious and aware of this great self, that all these illuminary objects are even visible and they get their powers from such. And therefore there can exist no other illuminary body which can ever illuminate the self. Therefore, it is swa prakasha, swa bhantam. It glows by itself. Mano vacham agochara. Finally, as has been proclaimed again and again in so many Upanishads too, that this, though we have described her in so many different words, so many namas, finally speaking, all of this has brought us absolutely zero information about her, truly speaking, because she is Mano Vacham Agochara. She is beyond the reach and grasp of both the clasp of the mind as well as of thought. Mano Vach. Here, Vach doesn't literally mean just speech, not just language. Here, Vak means all sorts of expression, be it thought, buddhi, the thoughts which are expressed or unexpressed, and the manas, which includes the five sense organs and the five motor organs along with it. So finally, she is a gochara. She is unspotted. She can never be in the spotlight by this small little beam. which is produced by the manas and the vak. Manovacham agochara. यद्वाचाराभ्युदितं येन वागभ्युद्यते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते. Once again, it is the Kena Upanishad which says, it is yadvachanabhyuditam. It cannot be expressed by words or language or thought. Yena vagabhyudite, and from which all thoughts, language, and expressions and intellect and rational arise. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi. Therefore, understand only that to be Brahman, or here in this case, Lalita. Na idam yadidam upasate. None of all of that which I have said so far, and none of all of that you have been worshipping, so called loving or worshipping so far, is truly that. So, it's a very nihilistic approach to God, very agnostic approach to God, I agree. However, that has been repeated so many times that it is unmissable. It cannot be not true, at least if you are to go by the scriptures. She is unreachable, agamya. She is bhavana agamya. She cannot be reached. Ultimately, what we can do is just lead our lives in utter surrender to her. So, with this thought, let us close our class for today, close the session, and resume it tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have a very interesting set of namas: Chakti, Chetana Rupa, Jada Shakti, Jadatmika, Madhaghurnita Raktakshi, and so on. Okay. As to any insights, any inputs that you wish to provide, I'm all ears. Have you all been practicing the shlokas? Tomorrow, anyway, I will be asking. There is a test.
We are practicing.
Okay, very good. What about the others?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, very nice to hear. Two people have been practicing. Who else?
Sir, yeah, can you practice please the recordings tomorrow from Sunday?
From Sunday. Yeah, only yesterday's I'm yet to upload. Till then, I have already uploaded in the Samskrita Nandini channel. The link I have already shared on the group. Please check the link. 14 is 14 is last, correct. 15th one, yesterday's I will upload today.
15th and 16th, 17th today.
No, one days I didn't record, which is when we had the quiz and such. So it's only 16 lectures, I think. I mean, 16 recordings I have,
Okay.
including today's.
Okay.
Does anybody have any question in a particular shloka? Because today is the last chance we'll get to get them clarified. Tomorrow will be a test, so I won't be helping you, of course, during the test.
ಉದ್ಯದ್ಭಾನ ಸಹಸ್ರಭ ಅದು ಓಡ್ಯಾನ ಪೀಠನಿಲಯ. I want clearance.
Explanation or the recitation?
Explanation.
Odhyana is a place, a courtyard, a place where lovers meet. That is called a specific place called Odhyana. And in where is that word here? In the Tantra, it's told to be the point just above the Ajna but below the Sahasrara, where the nadis, the left and the right main channels of energy, which are called the Ida and the Pingala nadis, when they meet, that spot is called as the Odhyana. And poetically speaking, it is a courtyard. It's a place, a garden in which these two lovers meet. Lovers in the sense the Surya Nadi and the Chandra Nadi, the Ida and the Pingala, because they are complementary energies. One is fire, another is water. One is strictness, the other is fluidity. One is straightforwardness, the other is cunning. So all these yin and yang energies, when they meet, that place, that garden, so-called garden, is called the Odhyana, and she resides at that spot, thus indicating a complete union of the two dualistic masculine and the feminine energies.
Okay.
Did you understand?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other question with recitation specifically? Okay, if you still have any question, yeah.
In verse 85, you were mentioning about Sodashikas,
Mm.
the 16 servants. I want to get a little bit more detail because Holy Mother Sarada Devi was, Ramakrishna did Sodashi Puja to her.
Okay. So that Shodashi Puja may be a little different. Here, Shodashika are the 16-year-old lasses, not girls, I would say adolescent girls, who in the form of Devis are worshipping her. They are her ministers, they are her servants. As a queen would have people to comb her hair and give put her bangles, dress her up, help her in bathing and all of that. So such think of such an imagery, and these 16 Devis called the Shodashikas or Shodashis are worshipping her. And the list of that I will send it on the group, like I said. Uh, these come on. So if you have seen the Sri Chakra, let me just share the screen. I think I may have. Hmm.
Okay.
So if you see this image of the Sri Chakra Yantra, there you see there are many circles, correct? And there is the outermost circle with that petals. If you see after the
Okay.
square design, inside the square design, there is a circle, and just after the circle, there are the petals, correct? And if you count, there will be 16, and those 16 petals, I think 16 or 18. Those will be the places where the Shodashis, the Devatas will reside. Similarly, there are other places like um, Aruna, I'm sorry, Anima, Garima, Prakamya, Siddhi, etc., which will occupy the inner petals and so on. So this I will explain. I'll take an entire day to explain which Devata occupies which petal and what are the Bija Aksharas. So this is where the metaphor comes from, where she is sitting in the center and served by different devis around her, occupying different rooms on the Sri Chakra Yantra. The how it relates to Shodashi Puja, I am not really sure. Let me think about this, ma'am. But yes, this Shodashi Puja, also called as Kanya Puja, is quite popular, at least in the south, where a woman of 16 years is said to be equivalent to, I mean, she is in the rite of passage of becoming an adult, where she, at least in the olden days, legally had the right to marry and go into the husband's house at the years of at the age of 16. And so she represents that age where this transition is happening between brahmacharya to grihastha. And also the Shodashi represents the Shodashakshari mantra. Uh, there are 16 syllables to the Sri Vidya mantra. Actually 15, and if you add another Hrim, it becomes 16. So 16 syllabled mantra is called Shodashi or Shodashakshari, and which is what, again, like I had said earlier, which is one of the most powerful mantras ever. It parallels the strength of the Gayatri mantra even. So those 16 syllabled mantra perhaps was used because Sri Ramakrishna did this in private. That is what I gather, correct?
Yes.
And nobody else was there to even witness it. And that is a very powerful because way of doing a sadhana, because he perhaps would have used the Sri Chakra yantra. He may have drawn the yantra and made Sharda Mata sit on it, and used some form of secret worship, which the Tantras may probably elaborate, which I'm not really aware of, where he invokes Lalita herself into the body of the person sitting in the yantra. So this avahana is done, and I also believe that towards the end of all his Shakti sadhana, doing a Shodashi puja is like giving away all the energy and punya accrued so far. Is that correct? I think the story goes on to say that all as the final offering.
He did same. All his sadhanas fell. He just offered that.
Correct. So that is how that is all I know, that this is like the Ashwamedha ritual equivalent where you're supposed to give away or even the fruits of action, even the punyas that you have gathered so far must be offered back to the mother. And that is a very um, painful and hurtful to any sadhaka, because now all those years of struggle and sadhana will be put to waste. And that is a test of the mother also to see if you truly are a detached person. And then, so he puts all, he, in fact, is called, uh, you are not just doing avahana, but you are somehow doing a consecrating the entire body of this person itself into that of Lalita or of Shodashi. So she no longer, at least it is said so, that from that day onwards, uh, that is really the time when she was being she started being looked upon as the actual mother. Thank you. Any other question?
So wonderful.
Thank you.
The meaning.
Thank you. Thank you. Astu, धन्यवादः. Namaste.
धन्यवादः.
धन्यवाद.
Thank you.